Hey everyone, Ancient Slumber here, and today we have a very special episode that I am super excited about. So, this channel is relatively new in the Marvel Champions content anyway, and I started posting content about a month ago. Didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really think anyone would watch it, but I've had a, great surprise and, people watched it, people commented. I've been able to communicate with the community a lot and interact and discuss all the different topics and playthroughs, and it's been an amazing journey. I love it. So thank you so much. I'm super grateful for anyone who watched this channel and supported. So in order to celebrate 100 subs, which we just recently got, I uploaded this question on YouTube, and I wanted to see what kind of list you guys would like me to do. So I suggested three different lists: my top 5 favorite heroes, top 5 overrated heroes, and top 5 underrated heroes. And it seems like most of you voted for top 5 underrated heroes. However, I did get some comments asking me to just do all three of them because they all sound interesting. So I think we are going to do that, and we are going to do it by the order that you all voted for. So the first list, which is what we're going to do today, is going to be top 5 underrated heroes. Then the next one would be my top 5 favorite heroes, and then we'll do top 5 overrated heroes. So hopefully you will enjoy the content. I would love to hear your opinions about my spicy takes. I know not everyone will agree, but I think it will be fun to do either way. So without further ado, we are going to talk about my opinion of the top 5 underrated heroes. Okay, so before we start discussing my top 5, I'd like to take a brief moment to talk about the content of this list and how I made it and what to expect going forward. So first of all, this list is subjective. It's my own opinions from my own experiences playing the game. And I know everyone has different opinions, which is what is so cool about this game. Someone could, think, I don't know, Iron Man is an amazing hero, and someone else could think he's not very good. And it's all valid. There are no wrong answers. So this is just my personal opinions. And I based it on other people's personal opinions. So how I did this list is I went and I watched other content creators' top tier heroes list. Then I went and read the comments about the list that these content creators did and saw what the community thought. After that, I created a short list of heroes that I think in my opinion, the heroes that were underrated. And I went to Reddit and Facebook and I searched those specific heroes that I thought were underrated and saw what the community thought. And sometimes I saw that the community agreed with me, so I kind of took the hero off the list. And sometimes the community didn't really quite match my thoughts about the hero, so I did keep it on the list. This list is going to work in the following way. We're going to talk for each hero about what the community perception of that hero is, how the community in general ranks the hero, and then my perception and my ranking. Now, the community is huge, and if we take all the opinions on Reddit and Facebook and content creators and put everything together, it's still a small part of the community, right? But unfortunately, this is the only data that I have. Like I can't go to people's houses and survey them to ask what they think about the different heroes. Which is why, like I said, this list is very subjective. And when I say what I think the community perception of a hero is, or the community ranking, like I said, it's based on these 3 points above, right? Content creators, comments, Reddit, and Facebook. And I know some people will completely disagree with what the community thinks, but I just try to look at the overall comments and vibe and discussion about the different heroes, and this is how I summed up everything. So I hope that makes sense. with that said, let's go to discuss our first hero. So number 5 on this list is Storm. God, I love Storm. Storm is so much fun to play. I think she's good in all the different aspects, but we're gonna get to my perception in a second. What's the community perception about Storm? So, at least from what I saw, people love Storm. People think she's very fun. People think she's amazing in multiplayer and very good solo hero. So, okay, I think this is pretty much accurate, but we'll discuss it in a second. Number 5, Storm. Okay, let's go. So what's the community perception of Storm? From everything I've seen, people really love Storm. They love playing her. They think the weather mechanic is really cool. And if I didn't mention it until now, I probably should, but this list is about power level, right? How strong the hero is and not how much people like to play it. I will discuss how much I like to play the hero or how much the community likes the hero, but in general, this list is built about power level. So that's the main criteria for me at least. So the community perception regarding Storm's power level is that she's very, very, very strong in multiplayer, probably an S tier hero, but not as good in solo, which is completely fair. And in my opinion, the community ranking of Storm is somewhere between A and S tier. So for multiplayer, probably S tier, for solo, around A tier. Now, my perception of Storm. I think Storm is amazing in both multiplayer and solo, which again, I think people agree with. But I think my perception of Storm in solo, which is my main way of playing the game, is a lot higher than what other people think. First of all, I love Storm. She's amazing. She's so much fun to play. I think she has strong builds in all 4 aspects. And, leadership is probably her strongest, but I could make a case for any of them being very strong. And I think she's probably one of the best heroes in the game. And which is why my ranking for Storm is an S tier hero. I think she's not as strong as Doctor Strange, maybe, but she's not that far away from him. And I don't think many people believe that. I think people think she's very strong, but not quite as strong. Now, how strong is Storm exactly? Just to give you a quick example, if we look at her cards here, she has this 3-cost event, Lightning Bolt, which says hero action attack, deal 8 damage to an enemy, which is pretty much what the standard of for events, right? That's the base damage that an event should be for being considered good, I think, an event attack. However, it also says if Thunderstorm is in play, resolve its special ability. And this is insane. So if you don't know Thunderstorm, it's one of her weather deck environments, which is this one. It says permanent, each character gets +1 attack, deal 2 damage to an enemy. So in one turn, Storm can put Thunderstorm into play, deal 2 damage to an enemy, right? Then play Lightning Bolt, deal 8 damage to an enemy, and then resolve the special ability again, which is another 2 damage. So you're basically paying 3 resources to deal 12 damage, which is insane. We don't really have anything like that in the game. And she has similar events with Torrential Rain, for example, and the, where is it? The Hurricane environment. So she's super versatile. She can deal with pretty much everything that comes up. Even if there's a very annoying minion, you can use Blizzard to delete that minion's text box, which I know it's very niche. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, it can be very, very strong. So I just think she's very versatile. She can deal with all the different threats in the game, and she has some extremely powerful events that work especially well in expert and heroic, right? Even flash freeze, if you watched my heroic Magneto video series where I try to beat heroic Magneto, one of the videos is with Storm, and flash freeze just does so much when playing against heroes that villains that activate a lot. So I played against Heroic Magneto, and Heroic Magneto can attack you 2 or 3 times around, right? It's extremely difficult. Flash Freeze kind of negates all of their attack for one cost, which is amazing. Plus, all of her events are superpower events, so Deft Focus helps everything. I don't know, she's just amazing. I think she's very, very strong. Number 4, Ironheart. The community perception of Ironheart is that she's a strong hero. She's very fun to play. The progress counter mechanic is very fun, but she's not an S tier hero. People believe she has a very weak early game, which is fair, and that if she doesn't get going quickly, she can fall behind, especially against the stronger villains in the game. And she doesn't have the consistency to be an S tier hero. So I would say overall the community's ranking of Ironheart is A. Right? She's an A tier hero. Strong, but not amazing. Now let's talk about my perception of Ironheart. I think she's extremely strong. And, you know, I'll be completely open here and say Ironheart is my favorite hero in the game. If you've watched this channel before, you should know that. I rave about Ironheart every opportunity that I can get. I play her a lot. There are a lot of playthrough videos of Ironheart in this channel, and I think she's extremely, extremely strong. Now, I do have a caveat about that. Up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, my perception of Ironheart, even though I love her, was pretty much the community's perception of Ironheart. I thought she was strong, but not an S tier hero. And something changed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And the thing that changed is I did my heroic Magneto challenge, which we just discussed, right? When I tried to beat heroic Magneto. And in the channel, you can watch the different videos. We have 5 videos of me trying to beat heroic Magneto. But behind the scenes, I actually played a lot more games against him because I tried different decks, I tried different aspects, I tried to check which hero I should play, because if I just tried to play all of the games on the channel, it would have been way too much. I think I played around like 60 or 70 games overall against him. Only 5 of those are on the channel. Now, out of those around 70 games that I played against Heroic Magneto, I've won 4 of those. I've won once with Leadership Cable, once with Protection Phoenix, once with Doctor Strange, and once with Ironheart. The video of me winning the challenge is the Ironheart video. Actually, let me say that again. I've won 5 times, but only with 4 different heroes. And the hero I've won twice with is Ironheart. So, out of all the 4 heroes that won, Cable, Phoenix, Strange, and Ironheart, only 2 of those I was able to win in my first try. And you can guess which one those were, right? It was Ironheart and Doctor Strange. So again, a bit behind the scenes of that video series. I played around 20 to 25 games with Cable, some of them in Leadership, some of them in Justice, and I've won once. And I wasn't able to win while recording a video, I won while not recording a video, and it was with Leadership Cable. With Phoenix, I played, again, maybe 20 games or so. I wasn't able to record a win, but I did win once with Protection Phoenix. So about 1 out of 20 games, right? That's a very low win rate. Obviously, Heroic Magneto is very difficult, but still it's a very low win rate. Doctor Strange, I played him once, and I've won the one time that I played with him, but I didn't really want my recorded win on this channel to be with Doctor Strange. Because he's so strong, I thought it would make the challenge less fun if I just played Doctor Strange and won. However, what really surprised me was when I played Ironheart and tested her against Heroic Magneto, I've won on my first game. Then I played her on a recorded video to see if I can replicate the win, and I've won on my first game again. So she's 2 out of 2 against Heroic Magneto, which is insane. It completely changed my perception of this hero. I think she's an S tier hero. I wouldn't put her quite on the same level as Doctor Strange. I think he's stronger, but apparently she is very, very strong and very consistent. Her early game wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, especially against very, very strong opposition. So, yeah, Ironheart is my number 4, and still my favorite hero. I think I love her even more now. Going to number 3, we have Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock is a very interesting hero. He's a guardian, he's a mystic, he is kind of hard to pilot in a way. His deck building is very strange. He has to have only 1 copy of each card in his deck, but he can play from all 4 aspects, which is pretty amazing. I think the community perception of Adam Warlock is okay-ish or up to strong, depending. I've seen different opinions. Some people say it's like okay, but not very good. Some people think he's strong, but not amazing. Overall, if I average everything out, I would say Adam Warlock's community ranking is somewhere between B and B+, which I think is, is fair. My perception of Adam Warlock is that he's very strong. I don't think he's an S tier hero, but he's very, very consistent, which is honestly surprising because you would think that with only 1 copy of each card in your deck, you wouldn't be so consistent, but I think he has some very, very strong tools to work with. So if we look at his cards here, one of his best cards in my opinion is Starlord, which means every time you shuffle your deck, you put a counter, and then you have an alter ego action to remove a counter and heal all the damage for your identity. And Adam Warlock has 11 HP, which is pretty good. You can even, raise it if you want with endurance to 14, and then you just flip once and heal everything, which is insane. He has very strong economy, so karmic stuff, just a wild resource. He has mystic senses, where whenever you use your battle mage ability, you draw a card, so he has 2 of those, so you can discard a card every turn for his battle mage ability, remove 2 threat or deal 2 damage or whatever, and then draw 2 cards, which is pretty insane. He has treachery cancels, relatively strong events, so I think he's just very, very strong and consistent. Also, his quantum magic makes him more consistent because you can just return a card from your discard to your hand and just react to any situation on the board. With that said, my ranking of Adam Warlock is somewhere between A and A+. It's difficult for me to say because I haven't really gone and made an actual tier list of all the heroes, so I would need to kind of do that in order to see where he ends up. But I think he can win against all the strongest villains in the game relatively consistently, and which is why he's so strong. Plus, he has the Mystic trait, which is, in my opinion, the strongest trait in the game, and that helps a lot, obviously. Going to number 2, we have Starlord. Starlord is interesting. So I think he's very divisive, right? The community's perception of him, from what I've seen, is very divisive. Some people think he's very inconsistent. He has a very high variance of how good he is in each game, and it kind of depends on how lucky you are. And I even saw some people put him on like C tier or from power level perspective, which is, well, it's, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but a lot of people also put him on B to A tier, which is very strong. So I think people are very divisive about how strong he is, and I think it makes sense because his mechanic is very luck based. At least it feels very luck based. So I can see why people think that way. Overall, I would say the community ranking of Starlord is around B, right? Some people think he's C, some people think he's A. I would say the average is around B. My perception of Starlord is he's more consistent than people think, which makes him stronger than people think. First of all, he's very fun to play. It's just like, I don't know, pulling a slot machine and seeing what you get. But I think getting a resource cost reduction of 3 for an encounter card is more than fair. Usually, you come out ahead. So you can play him slow and use the ability, I would say almost every turn, and beat pretty much all the villains. However, his rushdown is so insane, and in my opinion, more consistent than people think, that um, it makes him very, very strong. So when I play Starlord, I'm usually able to win around turn 2 or 3, depending on the villain I'm playing against, but even against very, very strong villains, around turn 3, I would say, is definitely doable, right? Winning on turn 3, which is extremely strong. Now, obviously, you have to take risks. You have to hope that the worst encounter cards don't come up and stop you. But in general, I would say I have a very strong win rate with Starlord just by rushing down the villain, even against the strongest villains. So my ranking of Starlord is A. I think he can win the majority of his games against the strongest villains in the game. Now, going into the number one most underrated hero, in my opinion. And this is a big one. Like, this is the reason I think this list is interesting. And that is Phoenix. So, honestly, I am kind of shocked regarding the community's perception of Phoenix. Um, I don't think I've really read or heard anything from the community before I played Phoenix myself. So I played her quite a lot, and then I went to see what other people think, and I was shocked on what's the community perception of her. So let's talk about it. From what I've seen, people say that she's hard to play, which is fair. You have to kind of decide when you want to unleash, right? So Phoenix has these counters that she starts with, her 4 counters, she's restrained, and then you can use the counters to generate a wild resource. And then once the counters reach 0, she's unleashed, and then she has very, very strong events. And she gets +2 attack and -2 thwart, which makes it hard to keep the thwart down. And I understand why people say she's complicated. She's definitely not the easiest hero to pilot. I don't think she's as hard to play as Domino, for example, which has a very, very high skill ceiling, but she is probably on the harder side of difficulty for piloting. Now, I think the main criticism I've heard about Phoenix is that her Nemesis set is brutal. she has this Dark Phoenix minion that comes out, which is very, very strong, 12 hit points, villainous, toughness, stalwart, I think, as well. And this side scheme that comes out that ends the game if it ever reaches the threat limit. And it can be difficult to deal with. So I agree that if on your first turn of the game you flip an encounter card and you get Shadows of the Past and the Nemesis set comes out, it's probably game over. However, that's a very, very rare case. Usually it comes out later in the game, and I've had cases where it comes out in turn like 3 or 4, and I was able to deal with it kind of not easily, but it wasn't a disaster. Like it was still fine. So I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I think it's bad. It's definitely one of the most difficult Nemesis encounter sets, but it's better than what people think it is. It's not an automatic loss once it comes out, especially not if it's in the mid game or end game. Right? It's not that bad. Now I think what people struggle with Phoenix is the whole going from restrained to unleashed timing and what to do when that happens. She has a very, very, very strong early game, right? She has 3 thwart, which makes it very easy to deal with things that are happening on the board, plus this extra wide resource, which gives her very, very good economy. She's an X-Men, she's a psionic, she's very good traits. And I think people really struggle with, okay, I've unleashed, now it's very hard for me to thwart, and I have to somehow deal with the board without being able to thwart very easily. Unless you play Justice, maybe. And that's, I think, what's the main struggle is. Now, before I go into my perception and what I think of Phoenix, let's go to the community ranking. I think people rank her about B tier. I've seen as low as C and as high as A, but in general, most people, I would say, rank her as a B tier hero. Now let's talk about my perception of Phoenix. I think, like I said earlier, her nemesis isn't as bad as people think, right? She has insane economy. She has crazy high value cards, and she can deal with any threat on the board. She has the tools to deal with everything. And I do agree that she's not hard to, not easy to pilot, but she's not that hard as well. So the way to play her, and I think she can play well in all 4 aspects, by the way. I love her protection aspect, but I think she's good with all of them. Her way to play her is to use this very good early game economy and her very good early thwarting to build yourself up and then use a counter, right, from Phoenix Force every round and try to grow Unleashed as quickly as you can. Some people try to delay it and keep dealing with the board and building up, but that's not the best way to play with her, in my opinion. You should try to rush going to Unleashed. In most cases, there are some edge cases where you want to wait maybe a round, maybe 2 rounds in the most of extreme cases, but usually you want to rush it. And if you play protection, you can even use it during the villain phase. So 1 resource during the villain phase, 1 resource during the player phase, and then go Unleashed even quicker. Once you unleash, you just need to rush the villain. You should kind of ignore everything else on the board and rush him. Phoenix events are so strong once unleashed that you can usually kill the villain very, very, very quickly. Let's take a look at some of the Phoenix cards, right, and see what makes her so strong. First of all, if you are playing against very difficult villains that deal a lot of damage, like Ronan, for example, you have both Rise from the Ashes and telekinetic shield to block a lot of that damage. Both of these cards help a lot because even if Ronan attacks you for 10 damage, which happens, you just kind of brush it off, which is amazing. Then, if you play a scenario with very strong minions, like Magneto, for example, all the acolytes are very high HP, they are very annoying to deal with. You have this mental paralysis and mind control cards. Now, I don't love mental paralysis, I don't think it's a very good card, especially against acolytes, but mind control is so strong, especially if you don't need to pay for it and you bring it out with superpower training, which makes it even stronger. Right? You can just have superpower training on the board and you can thwart it whenever you need to and bring mind control into the game and take control of a very strong minion, and the tempo swing is so high that it just lets you deal with pretty much any minion, non-elite minion, very easily and swing the board state in your favor. Now, if we discuss telekinetic attack, it's not very good when she's not unleashed, when she's restrained, but once she's unleashed, that's 9 damage with overkill, which is very strong. It's above the curve of how much damage an event deals, plus the overkill really helps. If Dark Phoenix comes out, you can deal with her by a telekinetic attack. So honestly, a lot of the time you can even just ignore Dark Phoenix and swing on the villain and kill him that way. Psychic Blast is very nice if you need to deal with a ton of minions on the board. 4 damage to the villain, and each minion engage with you. That's crazy. Telepathic Trickery, 2 for 4 threat removal is not amazing. It's okay. But if you have the Unleash, you can stun and confuse an enemy. Now, yes, it doesn't work against stalwart enemies, but in general, it's a very strong event. In summary, I rank Phoenix as an S tier hero. I know some people would call me crazy for thinking that, but I've played a ton of Phoenix games in all of the aspects and against the strongest villains in the game. And I think she's just as good as, almost any hero in the game dealing with these very strong villains. Again, I wouldn't put her on Doctor Strange level. I would say Strange is probably like S+, but she's very strong. Okay. I think we're done. I've discussed everything that I wanted here. We've gone through all 5 heroes. I'm sure some people will disagree with me here. Some people will think that, I'm crazy for some of my takes. So yeah, it's basically my opinion, but I hope I at least conveyed my arguments, in a clear way, and that you understand why I think the way that I think. And if you disagree with me, that's fine. I would love to hear it in the comments. Let me know why I'm wrong or why you think I'm wrong, and let me know if you think that I've missed any hero. I would love to hear what you think is the most underrated hero is. Is there a hero that your perception of them is much higher than the community's perception of them? Yeah, just write it down in the comments. I would love to hear it. I would love to discuss it with you. And yeah, I'm excited to make this list. I'm excited to make these next 2 lists, which I think will be very fun. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for the 100 subs. I very much appreciate it. I'm very grateful, and I hope I can make more content that, you will like to watch. If you like this video, don't forget to sub and leave a comment down below. Let me know what your most underrated hero is, and I will see you guys next time.